So the folks over at Roborock reached out to me recently and they were like, hey Kyle, we'd love for you to check out our robot vacuum. I was like, robot vacuum? He's like, yeah, it's our flagship Xiaomi S5. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't know if we really review those. And then Wifey Sauce reminded me that I once did a video on a litter box for cats. And then I went back to Roborock and I was like, sure, why not? So the Xiaomi S5 is a robot vacuum. It's automatic, it does everything itself. It's supposed to be just sort of a hands-off, set it and forget it type of deal. It's a home appliance, first and foremost, which is also why we are shooting at home today, because it makes most sense to test it out and get the full experience in a home environment. This is also the first robot vacuum I've ever interacted with or used in any capacity, so unfortunately I can't compare it to other robot vacuums on the market, so consider this video a first-timer's perspective on what it's like to use a robotic vacuum. Now, I believe it does say in the user's manual for this thing that you should pick up and tidy up your house before you use it. So if there's like clothes on the floor or you've just got like kids' toys lying around, you should pick those things up first. You kind of have to have sort of a relatively tidy area before it goes to town. Otherwise, it could get stuck on things. It's just not going to be an optimal experience. So in that sense, it kind of trains you to be cleaner as a person. That being said, for this video, I thought it would be kind of fun to say, screw all that. Why don't we just leave this place a total wreck and see how the vacuum performs under pressure. I kind of set up an obstacle course on the second floor of our two-story house. We've got a couple wires in different areas that are in the way, a backpack strap that's just waiting to get choked on. There's a pile of clothes just sitting in the middle of the floor. I've also simulated some realistic food spills that I'm sure are not uncommon in most households. And there's also several other hurdles to overcome here for the S5. Now, obviously, these little sabotage points that I've laid out everywhere might make this area a bit messier than the average household, or not. I've seen some pretty messy houses. But at the end of the day, this vacuum is $600, or close to $600. Now, I know that good quality vacuums aren't cheap, but 600 bucks is still 600 bucks. And so I really wanted to see where its limits are and see what it's made of. So I feel like this little obstacle course that they've laid out will do exactly that. When I was ready to boogie, I simply whipped out my phone and opened up the Mi Home app because this sucker is app enabled. It's actually really cool. It's super easy and quick to pair. And from there's a bunch of cool features you can take advantage of, which we'll touch on later. But as far as actually starting a cleanup, you can either press the physical button on the vacuum, which is super lame, or you can just tap run on your phone and you're off to the races. So with that said, let's see how the vacuum did. Now, remember all those M&Ms that I casually dropped all over the place? There was about 20 of them. I didn't really count, but there was a lot of them. And the vacuum picked up every single one but one. There was one red one that was just kind of wedged in between the edge of the carpet and our entertainment center upstairs, and it didn't get that one, and I wasn't really expecting it to, but it got every other one. I was super impressed right off the bat, but also kind of realizing that maybe this isn't a full-on replacement for a full-size vacuum, and that it's not going to get literally everything. The automation technology isn't quite there yet, but let's continue. Now, Wifey Sauce and I vacuum pretty regularly in our house, but we have a very large couch that's relatively heavy, and we don't vacuum underneath that couch maybe as often as we should. And it didn't even occur to me until I started seeing the robot do its thing that this thing can go underneath the couch. It can access certain areas of your house that a full-size vacuum can't so easily anyway. And it just went under the couch, and it was under there for a good 3-5 minutes, and I thought it was gonna get stuck. I thought maybe I'm gonna have to fish it out or something like that. It just kept going, doing its thing, and about 5 minutes later, it popped out, and it was like, hey, I'm here, your couch is clean under there, it's fine, everything's cool. This also left me pretty impressed while realizing that this vacuum simply has certain strengths and advantages that a full-size vacuum does not. Once it reached the legs of our coffee table, though, I got a little nervous because it started to kind of choke and get stuck on one of the legs. But just when I was about to actually get up and help it out, it managed to get over it. And then I thought maybe it's gonna get stuck later on. It went back and forth over these legs, maybe like 6 or 7 times during the full cleaning, and not one time did it ever get stuck. I was blown away. And then you flip it upside down and you realize why. It's got 2 massive wheels, one on either side with some nice rubber grip, and they're just relatively large and have a lot of traction, and they're big enough to get over, clearly, obstacles like these. And then it moved on to the Doritos. It picked up every scrap of Dorito on the carpet that I could perceptibly see. However, it did leave sort of a smear. It did sort of smear some of the cheese powder. Rest in peace, cheese powder. You will be missed. It wasn't a huge deal to me. I had to spend literally 5 seconds just manually wiping it up. Of course, like I said, guys, it's not gonna get every little thing. Now, I did catch the S5 nibbling on some of those cables and even the backpack strap that I put down. It did look like it was going to get stuck at a certain point, but apparently the suction of the vacuum is just a little too weak for those larger objects, and so after some gnawing, it eventually spit it out and just kept on trucking. Similarly, the vacuum thought about eating one of my shirts that was in the clothing pile, but you know, I think it was just too full off of candy and Doritos to go any further, so it spit out the shirt and just made a full circle around the clothes pile. Didn't get snagged once. From there, it went into our upstairs bathroom, which has laminate floors, and we have a couple of rugs in there. The vacuum actually shifted the first rug around to the point where it was no longer laying flat, so it prevented it from getting a good clean, which was kind of unfortunate. But fortunately, it did not get stuck. The vacuum just kept going, didn't get snagged on either of those carpets, which our full-size vacuum does every single time. The S5 didn't clean the laminate floor in our bathroom as well as I had hoped. It did get most of it, but I'd say about 80 to 85% of it, but there were quite a few hairs left behind and things like that, which is also why, total sidetrack right here, but they have a mop attachment. You can pop this in, it's got a water port, you fill some water in it, and it's got this cleaning cloth on the bottom, it's Velcro, you can wash it off or whatever when it gets dirty. You can do a wet mop with this thing. It's all included in the box. I didn't test out the mopping feature at all, so I have no idea how it works. You guys can check out other reviews on that, but let's continue with the vacuum story. From the bathroom, it got back onto the carpet, no problem, and then went down the hallway to the stairwell. It did not fall down the stairs and shatter into a million pieces because it has a built-in cliff sensor that will detect where certain high edges are around it, and it will prevent it from actually falling off. After cleaning about 24 square meters of our designated upstairs area, and 33 minutes later, the device actually guided itself back home to its dock where it continued charging. I'm pretty sure it still had more than half of its battery life remaining after that half-hour run, but this way it ensures that the next time we use it, it'll be charged at 100% and ready to robo-rock. Apart from the one M&M Mini and the bathroom rug, this thing completely destroyed the obstacle course that I laid in front of it. The fact that it just did the whole half-hour run without me ever needing to intervene was super impressive. Perhaps the most satisfying moment of this whole process, though, was emptying out the dustbin, which had so much crap in it. I mean, you can see the Doritos and you can see the M&Ms with your eyes, but how much else is it getting? What other dirt and dander and debris and sort of pet hair and things like that is it actually accumulating? Is it really doing anything, or is it just, you know, making these fancy straight lines in your carpet that makes it look clean? Actually, it just cleaned the crap out of our house. There was so much stuff in there. It was completely full, this single dustbin, and I was blown away by how much it had accumulated in just that half hour. Fortunately, I don't think we're gonna have to empty out the dustbin with every single run, because this was the first run, and so it was the dirtiest and had the most filth to accumulate, especially underneath the couches. I think now that that's been taken care of, the next run won't actually fill up the bin nearly as much, and we won't have to empty out the bin quite as frequently. I want to circle back to the app though and talk about some of those cool features that I mentioned earlier. So when you do an initial run or cleaning of your house or room or whatever, the vacuum will create a map of your house and project it on your phone, and from there you can do some cool things. For starters, you can actually mark off specific cleaning zones. So let's say you drop Cheetos on one area of your floor, you don't want to have to wait for the vacuum to clean the entire house just to get that one spot. So you can create a cleaning zone, set how many times you want the vacuum to go over that zone if it's a really affected area, and then you just click run and the vacuum will go straight to that cleaning zone, do its business, and go straight back to the dock. In a similar fashion, you can create no-go zones on the map, which tell the vacuum where not to go. So if you don't want it to go under your bed or under the couch or in the kids' room or wherever, you can create those no-go zones, as many as you want, and prevent your vacuum from accessing certain parts of your house. To further control your S5, you've got barrier tape, which is kind of like a no-go zone, but instead of an actual area, it's just an invisible wall that you can draw anywhere in your house. And as you'd expect, the vacuum will not go past any of these walls. So if you want to create more defined boundaries, that's a great tool as well. There's some other cool features within the app as well. Some of them are pretty obvious, like being able to set schedules for regular cleanings and things like that, but we won't get into much more at this point. So what are my overall thoughts on this thing? Well, I am super impressed with the technology, way more than I thought I would be. It's incredibly smart. The sensors are amazing, and the fact that it can traverse really well is super cool. The combination of those things, being able to see everything in my house and also not getting stuck on anything. It is fully autonomous in that sense. Even though it's not a perfect solution, the vacuum mechanism has also proven itself to be pretty effective. So I don't really have a huge laundry list of complaints with this product. I think the only really big concern here is the price. It makes me kind of reminisce about the litter box, the $500 self-cleaning litter robot 3 that I reviewed a while back. And I kind of feel the same way about these two products. They're expensive. It's a lot of money to spend on a single gadget or whatever you want to call it. But if your lifestyle suits it and you value that convenience that much, for whatever reason, you're incredibly busy, you just don't have time, you're maybe disabled or you just can't, then it is incredibly, these products are incredibly helpful. But of course, everyone's gonna value that convenience differently, and we certainly all have different budgets in mind. So if you're just asking if this is a good product, price aside, the answer is yes. It definitely is, in my opinion. But speaking of vacuums, why not try building a clean website with Squarespace? Squarespace is a one-stop, all-in-one platform designed to help you create and grow your online business. You guys probably already know how easy it is to make an original website with their intuitive UI, but there's also useful analytics and marketing tools to help define and fulfill your goals as a content creator, system builder, clothing brand, or whatever your thing is. Squarespace's 24/7 customer support is always ready to answer your questions or walk you through a technical issue. Not that I ever have any of those. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/bitwit for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Apart from that, you can toss a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and get subscribed for more tech stuff coming at you really soon. Thanks guys, I'll see y'all in the next video.